Over the weekend, the New York Times published an investigative report in regard to certain companies that help individuals purchase followers for their social media accounts. Now, these followers can be bought for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. And there are certainly some problems associated with this because not only does it give this deceitful image of an individual and how many followers he or she has, but more importantly, oftentimes what happens is actual people will have their images or their account information taken to create these bot accounts, again, using their image, that people can then buy to make it appear that they have more followers than they actually do. Now, the piece is amazing. Everyone should read it. This is something that I honestly knew was going on for a very long time now, but it's become more sophisticated because of the fact that they want the bot accounts to look as real as possible, so they use real people's photos as a result.
Well, you know, before you dive more into the story, Anna, the thing that drives me crazy about it is everyone should have known about it. So if you remember all the way back in 2012 when Newt Gingrich was running for president, he used to brag about his Twitter followers. And then they found out a stunning percentage, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it was almost 90% of his Twitter followers were from Bangladesh. Okay, so
he's popping in Bangladesh. Though.
Oh yeah, no,
they all love him in Bangladesh.
Yeah, no, Newt can't buy a beer in Bangladesh. Partly because it's a Muslim country, but anyway, so we knew it as a phenomenon. But what it was really frustrating is they don't acknowledge it, and people acted like it was real. So I've seen it in business over and over again. Well, they have this many Twitter followers. And by the way, you could also do this to some degree on Facebook. It's much easier on Twitter, right? On Instagram, etc., and Snapchat. Oh, well, they have all these followers. We will give them tons of money, or we will advertise with them and
all the time. Your value is not based on the quality of your work. It's based on how many people follow you on Twitter, which is maddening to say the least, right? But let me tell you what I actually appreciated the most about this story. It wasn't the original report by the New York Times. It was the take that Ian Bogost had at The Atlantic, and this one line really stood out to me. The problem with Twitter and with social media in general isn't that the influence can be faked, it's that it is seen to have so much significance in the first place, right? And so damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? So there are actual celebrities, people who already have a pretty large following, who go out of their way to purchase fake followers because they want more influence, right?
But it's a logical move.
Yeah.
Now it's douchebaggery and it's fake, and it hurts people who are actually have real followers, have built a real following on whatever platform that you're talking about. But they think if I don't do it, it's like steroids in baseball. If I don't do it, somebody else is gonna do it, then I'm gonna fall behind, and that's not fair to me. So it creates this race to the bottom or top where everybody's getting fake followers, and the people that are, I think, most responsible are the ones that then reward that.
Yeah.
And so, and they do. And as that writer in The Atlantic pointed out, you can get a better book deal if you have more Twitter followers.
That's right.
You can get better advertising deals, and the list goes on and on.
You get investments, right? And so oftentimes you'll see these massive multi-million-dollar investments into whatever person, whatever app, whatever company, and it turns out that that company doesn't end up delivering. And it's because the influence that they have isn't really necessarily real. So that I think that's the biggest issue here. There's a lot of weight put on, you know, the numbers behind Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is. And by the way, there are also people, myself included, I would never spend money on followers. I think it's a gigantic waste of time. But by the way, where am I gonna go? I work here. I'm gonna be here, okay? Cenk doesn't care about my followers. But it's weird because those bot accounts, like, there's a pretty significant chunk of my Twitter following that's bot accounts. And I'm like, how do I get rid of them? How do I find them and get rid of them? And so a lot of them are automated where if there is a suggested person to follow, the bot accounts automatically follow them, right? that's a disaster too. I don't want you. Go away. Go away.
Well, unfortunately, they don't understand you because they're computer programs.
I know. It's terrible.
So then there are other kind of bots that are malicious bots. That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But for the purpose of this, I think you're right that the Atlantic writer really nailed it. It's really the rest of us in our perception and how obsessed we are with it. And one thing he didn't mention is it's more old school media. I know everybody is. Don't get me wrong. And now it's not just celebrities or public figures. Every young person wants to have more followers on Instagram.
They want to be influencers.
Influencers, and you get paid to be an influencer, and you seem famous, etc. I get it. I get all that. I get the drive for it, and it's innate in our nature for a lot of people to want to seek that fame. It's pretty normal, but the people who reward it and drive people to this madness, I think are the real issue. It reminds me of back in 2012, not just the Newt Gingrich story, but the Donald Trump story, where Donald Trump bragged about this, and we sent our reporter, Michael Schur at the time, to Vegas and asked Donald Trump, why do you think that the American people are interested in you? And he said, based on how many Twitter followers I have. That was an answer he gave to Michael Schur. And then Michael followed up with, but Snoop Dogg has more than you, should he be president? Now at the time that was really funny. Now,
not so
maybe,
yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the kind of insanity that we're in, because the system is rewarding the wrong things.
Absolutely.
Especially old media.
Absolutely.
Right now, influencers encourage narcissism without knowing the breadth and depth of their impact on their audiences.
Steve Jobs revolutionized the entire world with the iPhone, and he never let his children use it because he did not want them dependent on technology.
Right now, an infant is getting their first laptop.